Hello, hello. Good afternoon. It's 3 p.m. Good morning and good evening. Whenever time you're watching this video, whenever you are. Um, Today, I kick off with the mode, a full mode of programming. Like I mentioned, I'm going to be running this semester as if it's a quota system, because I'm used to quota system. So I need to start coding and doing data analytic before I start writing the paper in the coming weeks. So right now I am working on a paper about Uganda because that's the most hardest paper. Then of course I'm gonna have Vietnam, which is coming up, which I'm gonna be talking about the assembling, which is, I think Vietnam is easy to find because they seem to be developing. Then I'm gonna have agriculture paper. Then I also have midterms paper coming up. But the three of them, the agriculture paper, the Ugandan energy paper, and the paper about Vietnam. Those three, I think they're supposed to be due this month. Even if I don't finish them, I need to, at least by the end of this month, I need to have the data already available, all the statistics, all the graphs, all the findings, and all the things that I need to write the paper. So today I spent the whole day. I didn't do anything else. I did not apply for jobs and do anything else. Just spent so much time trying to find the data. Like, it's really hard. It took me the whole day. I didn't even go to the gym, and I'm not supposed to go to the gym today. But I spent the whole day just doing this, right? So here I am. I just finished you can see that it says Uganda Energy Research R. So I was debating between using SPSS or SASA, or using R or Stata. Stata is expensive. I don't have money to pay for it, and the school will not pay for it unless the university professor specifically asked me to. And you need a license, right? So I didn't have to use Stata. I could have also used Python. In fact, at the first I programmed in Python, and I realized I don't have, if I have to use Python, I have to use CSV file, or no, I have to use Studio Code, Studio Code, like Microsoft Code, which takes time to set up and run everything, and it may not even show the graphs, because you need a ggplot, right, to do that. No, not a ggplot, but different types of package to run Python graphs. So now I'm taking Python under my big data class, which is machine learning, and we're using Python to predict the housing market, mostly like finance, right? It's used to predict finance. It's used to predict, it's not the same thing as time series. You can use time series. That it can be done in any programming language, but Python specifically has the model that you can use, and those models can be reproduced and reused over and over and over. So it's easy to use those models in Python, right? It's very fantastic. So because I have Python, I have huge exam coming up about Python. I'm not going to use it for now. I'm going to focus more on R. R is easy. I just pull up the R software on a program. I program everything within R, then I save it. It stays in there. Anytime you can always pull up and do it. Now, because I do have to upload videos on YouTube, so I have to make videos, put them on my computer. Last year when I was doing economic classes, I had a bunch of data in my computer which feed up the memory, especially large data like energy in Uganda. You have to download a bunch of them, then combine them, which takes a lot of work. But I found another data, which is a package written by a guy named Sabatian. He actually lives in Washington, D.C. I look up for his LinkedIn. He lives in Washington, D.C. He's dedicated in creating packages for African data. All right. So when there is a package like R package or Stata package or any package out there, Python package, you just plug into your software and it pulls all the data, all right, and everything's updated. And then his data contains it's updated from Uganda's Bureau of Statistics, Uganda Energy Extensions, Uganda Energy Poverty, like a lot of data is contained in there. This was good until when I ran for the first time, it worked, and I trying to run again, it shuts down. I don't know why, but I look up on Google. It sounds like Uganda, because this guy is putting data from Uganda. Uganda's servers are not reliable. They shut down sometimes. So very poor quality system over there. Kind of sad, right? But I'm not complaining because I understand the implications, and this is what I'm trying to do here, right? It's trying to help out a country like Uganda succeed, right? It's what everybody's doing out there. So I use something else. I use the World Bank, but it's a problem. World Bank is lagging behind, 1 year behind. If you don't know what the word lagging means, it means they don't update their data until 1 year later, right? So the sabbatical guy who's dedicated to African data, his data is updated every single day because he connects with the servers in Uganda, which so makes it easier to connect. In the World Bank, there's no connection. So now I was forced to use World Bank because World Bank is located in Washington, D.C. They also have offices in Africa, in Geneva, all over the world. So their data doesn't shut down. It always functions 24/7. So that's positive. So I was able to use World Bank package. So if you can see, I don't know if you can see my computer. I hope it does. Let me increase the visibility. There we go. So if I can scroll down, you can see here I used the data. So I had Uganda UGTSDB, that's the library, but it doesn't really work. So I just I skipped that one. I still have it, so I kept it. I didn't store away. I just kept it. Then I also have web WB stats. That's World Bank statistics. So World Bank statistics contains all kinds of data from around the world. So you can pick up data from like Kenya or South Africa or Venezuela or United States. Like every country is in there. And then on the bottom here, I specifically said, I need to. So you can see this is a timeout. So this is a timeout. So you have to keep running because it keeps running out. So that's the issue I had in Uganda. It was a timeout. Then I don't know. This computer is not showing pretty well. It's let me put it over here. It's running. Okay. So as you can see here, I did some. These are indicators. So the total access, because I needed my paper. If I go back to my paper, I don't think I have it already. But my paper is supposed to study the does off-grid like solar panels take away the burdens from grid extension, like wires, the one you see on the outside. See those wires over there? These wires works only if the country has people of the population living close to each other, so it's easier transportable. And on the population live close to each other, not only do you excuse me, not only do you easily give people electricity, but it's also easy to collect money, and it doesn't cost as much. But if you have to expand electricity to rural areas, specifically for people who are not only poor but also living each other apart, you're spending more money to extend these grids, but then at the same time, the people you are giving electricity to, they don't have income to pay to cover the expenses you are using. So as a country, you are either forced to overtax people living in the city to compensate people living in the rural areas, or you have to take on loans. So Uganda have to take in a lot of loans, or you could also force people to come and live in a city, which is obviously, we all know, is very, very difficult. So my goal is to understand the cost and benefits analysis. How much is it being spent to to expand these grids, and how much is it? What's the benefit that they're getting out of it? The deficit is like 1.5% losses that Uganda is taking on by expanding these grids. It's a lot of money. And then, and of course, this is like a short term. We don't know the long term effects going to be. This is what I'm also studying. So the long term will be the GDP, education, knowledge, investments, attracting foreign investments. So that would be the long term. But I'm going to talk about this in a minute. And I'm still working on this. I haven't done it yet. And I have a few minutes to go to sleep, because I'm tired really. I need to sleep. Then I look up at the rural access. I have the urban access. So I want to compare between the total amount for the whole country, combining the rural versus the urban. Then you complex that, you have 51% access in the whole country, but the urban access is like 51%, the rural access is like 42%. And then the urban access is much higher, of course. Then I have grid losses. This is how much you lose by extending the grid, right? Then I have also GDP per capita, and I also have GDP growth. So GDP growth is supposed to be in percentages, then GDP per capita is supposed to be in the dollar terms or shillings time. This going to be dollar terms. Then that's pretty much all I had to do. Then I had to test difference in difference. It's like a statistical data that you have to test. Then you create the treatment groups and controlling groups. So I did that by looking at the districts, which district. So to use a DID, or difference in difference, I have to look at the off-grid extension, right? Compare, because my goal is to see if we are to expand off-grid expansion, which is solar panels, will that lower the burden on the government expenditure? That's the main goal, right? If the answer is yes, then the government could eventually just expand access or support local manufacturer that manufacture the solar panels, then have people have solar panels. And there's an implication here, because remember that solar panels, they don't generate a lot of electricity to run agriculture products. Take away the burdens of the most high-level factories. Uganda has factories. I'm not going into that as well. But anyway, let's do this, right? Let's keep going here. So I ran it, and then I had to download the data, right? Then down here I had data cleaning to make it cooler, remove some NA, like there was missing data. Of course, it's World Bank, so there was some missing data. So I have to plug in other data. World Bank did not have World Bank was missing some data. I have to plug in. All right. But let me go here and show. So if I go down here, so if I view World Bank final, no, I mean the Uganda final, this one should be, oops, I need to. So I think this will make more sense. Let it run. So here you can see this is the year. This is from 1999 to 2024. So there was no updated data for 2025 to 2026 from World Bank. Then here you have total access. So in 1999, the total access of electricity in Uganda was 6%. The rural was 0%. So in the rural, in 1999, Uganda's rural area did not have electricity at all. Of course, there was no electricity. The solar panels were not expanded. So you just gotta keep that in mind. Then of course we don't have the data for GDP per capita, GDP growth. The installing capacity was like 900. Probably this has to be in a city area. The peak demand is 500. The surplus is my biggest area I need to focus on. So I made an argument, an assumption that Uganda produces a lot of electricity compared to, considering that they have a lot of what is it, the hydropowers. So they produce a lot of electricity. However, they don't utilize that electricity to support the people. So that's what the biggest challenge is. You can produce a lot, but you need the money, the investments to expand that electricity to people. That's why the problem is coming in. To producing more, yes, but is it getting to people? No. If you have to get to people, you have to spend more money. Does spending money really, have any effects? Yes, you can build a large, like we see Ethiopia, for instance. I'm not trying to talk about Ethiopia here, but then talk about Uganda. Uganda has like this big electric hydropower in the Jinja area, powered by River Nile. I haven't been there. I just talk whatever on the internet. But let's say you spend $2 billion producing. That's less money, but let's say $50 billion producing electricity. You have so much electricity. However, you need another $500 billion to expand it to rural areas. Is that feasible? Is that really economical? So that's what the problem is. That's why these countries are struggling. So that's what I'm looking for here is the surplus. That's how much they have extra. Now this data is the same all over from 1999. This data over here was added in there because there was no updated data, so I have to just add anything I can to match the numbers. That's because there was no updated data, of course, like I say, But you can see from, if we go down here in 2022, like 2023 to 2026, the energy demand, the access to electricity, the total is 51%. The rural area is 42%. And I don't have the urban area because I don't need the urban area as much. And there's urban area, but it's going to be later on. The GDP has jumped to, GDP in 2025 was $1,200. It was $963. So this is a big jump here. And the GDP growth was 4%. 2024 is 5% in 2025, then 6% in 2026. So there's a huge jump here. And then the installing capacity of electricity has gone up to 20,052 megawatts. These are megawatts. So they have expanded. This is like, so if you compare from 2023 to 2025, 2026, the megawatts was 1,242, okay, supply in 2023, and the GDP was 3%. But you can see as they increased the amount of expansion of megawatts to 2,552, the GDP has almost gone double. Okay, so pretty impressive. It shows how how the expansion of electricity actually correlates to GDP. Okay, I'm not studying the GDP here. It's the most relevant. It's not relevant, but it's a cool thing to study. But I'm not doing macro here. I'm doing micro, understanding the investments in electricity here. But this is a fascinating thing to see, and these are things you come out when you do these things, right? And then here you can see the peak demand of megawatts is 985. So there's only, they're producing more, but they don't have enough. So make it make sense. They are installing, 2,052 megawatts producing with hydropower and the total, but they're only having the demand of 985 people. They only have 185 megawatts in the whole Uganda. So they have a total extra surplus of 1,067 electricity. That's close to, that's like 70%. Let me do the math here, because sometimes I need to do some math here. But let me see, my phone is about to die. Jiggy. If I go here and I get, 1067.7, divide this by 985 divided by 100, yeah, that's like 10%. No, not 10%. My bad, stupid math here. But anyways, this is embarrassing thing on the internet. But anyway, so you can see that they are really like missing a ton of electricity, that almost a half electricity is being wasted, that could be used if they could maybe install more factories that can use this electricity, build factories around this electricity so that they can have enough power they can have enough income. And also, if you build a factory, people are going to move from the rural areas to close to the factory, get jobs, create cities, live around the city, and then consume electricity in a nearby area. And also, you can have factories, businesses, and factories consuming electricity, indirectly subsidizing the local consumer, like the residents. But Uganda it won't attract foreign investments, which they need a lot, if they don't have the electricity. So they need electricity to attract foreign investments. If they don't have foreign investments, they're gonna keep having electricity being wasted. So it's really hard. It's like a paradox of getting an experience. You need experience to get a job. You need a job to get experience, right? But Uganda has an option, right? Just they could just maybe invest in local factories, invest in local farms, right? Maybe give local farms more factories. But if those local farms, when I say local farms, I'm not talking about like farming, people are farming, I'm talking about like factories, businesses. But if those local farms or local businesses actually are located in a village, they're in rural areas, then you need to expand that to them, and it's expensive, and they don't have income to do that. All right, so what do? Maybe create local business zones. Rwanda did that. Rwanda is amazing. Every time I talk about Rwanda, I get chills. Rwanda GDP is 8%. Uganda is catching up very fast, so it's impressive. But they could create local businesses, like in the US. There are some areas called business districts, business area, or whatever like that is, like they have stores and markets. These areas could be created in Uganda, and then give them local grids in that area to support the local businesses, the local factories, and then the residents in the area, they can use the electricity from that area. Then that can be subsidized to them, right? So if a local resident is paying $2 or 50 cents, $2 a lot, 50 cents per watt, then the businesses can be paying like $1 or $2, double the prices, so that it can subsidize the locals. So that's what I'm trying to think here. But my point is to look at the expenses between the off-grid and mini-grid, so the solar panels. So now we know how much, right? How much we have a lot of surplus, it's a lot. And let's look into the, wait, what did I do? Wait, what? I was like, where's my code? I was about to get terrified because I didn't save it. I gotta save it. Here we go. Yes. Save the changes. Yes, I moved it. Thank you. All right. So let's go here. Now let's run the another part here is to see the rural access to total GDP. Just like a summary that shows the GDP, how does GDP actually does. So this is a difference in difference. So it looks at installing capacity megawatts, peak demand, surplus megawatts, and then no, I need to look at this one first. Let me see. Actually, I just clicked down a minute ago. Okay, that one is good. Never mind. So I need to look at the GDP per capita, total access, and how does the total access affect the GDP per capita. So does having, I mentioned this area, but let's prove it. So I don't think I want this one. Here we go. So as you can see here, this is very stupid statistics. It's not stupid, but if you're not an economist, if you're not a data analyst, this will look stupid. But this is very interesting information that people might not understand. So here you can see you have it gives a pretty good information. So we don't have the year from 1992. So here the SFA, which is the analysis of SFA, which is cost benefit analysis. It shows that it tells you that inefficiency decreases the endogenous variable. Okay. So by not using all the electricity, it creates an endogenous variable. It creates it makes Ugandans more poor. So as Uganda lags behind in having people have access to electricity and utilizing every single megawatts they produce, the more they lose out money. They lose a lot of money. They lose. I'm talking about like from Trump's perspective, Trump's business perspective. They're losing billions of dollars by not giving people electricity. No matter what they think, Uganda, the more they delay to give people access to electricity, the more the GDP stays down. And as the GDP stays down, the more they lose money in the revenue what they could be collecting, So something to keep in mind here. And revenue taxes is equivalent to GDP. When people get richer, they pay more taxes, right? So it's up to them. They choose whether they want to expand electricity, collect more taxes, build highways, pay workers more money, teachers, police officers, firefighters, whatever that is, or they can choose not to expand electricity and just stay poor. The choice is theirs. Or they can keep borrowing money and keep staying inefficient, or not strategizing the ways of keeping electricity accessible. It's up to them, right? That's me making I'm doing this so I can get a job in America, making money. I don't care. But at the end of the day, this is something very interesting to understand and learn. So here you have the estimate standard error, the Z value. So the access is 6%. So as people have more access, this over here, as you can see, it's very blurry, but as people have access, an increase of 1% in electricity is an increase in 10% of electricity results into the expansion of up to 6% GDP growth. Very impressive. So as you expand electricity, Ugandans keep earning more money from electricity, which makes sense. I lived in Uganda. When people have electricity, they can do business outside. They can, sell chapati outside from 7 a.m. to 3 a.m. Kids can wake up in the morning, go to school, and come back and study. Right? They can show movies the whole night. People become more productive. Shops can open the whole night because they don't have to worry about robbery because there's electricity everywhere. Police can do the overnight, patrolling, right? Farmers can wake up in the morning and go trade. So there's a lot of things going on when there's access to electricity. Okay, it's just how wonderful it can be. GDP goes up. It's proven, statistically proven. Then of course, then you have gamma, sigma, square, like this severe statistical. I know I'm not gonna go into expanding here, but there is the mean is efficiency, 79%. So when it comes to efficient, Uganda is utilizing its own hydropower perfectly. They are using it as they should, but they are also not utilizing the entire supply. They are using everything they have, like solar panels, electricity production, but they are not expanding to people. So there's a negative in expansion, but they are using it as they should. So they're not going overboard. They're not going under, or they're spending everything they have. Okay. Which is positive, then, so nothing to blame about them. Just they need to have some strategy in doing this, but they're doing a good job. And remember, I read somewhere that Uganda was using a company called Umeme. So Umeme was inefficient. Now they switched to another company called UCRE, whatever. So either way, they hire different. Uganda is like America, right? The government hires private sector to do the job because they are more efficient, and people can criticize it. People can't criticize Uganda. People can't criticize the government, but they can criticize the company. It's like not in the United States. If the electricity was owned by the government, people won't be able to criticize it. Because it's owned by private companies, which are monopoly, they can criticize it. Okay, but it's also really hard because it is a monopoly, so it takes time. But the GDP could be a result. The GDP growth and access to electricity expanding really fast, like we saw in the statistics. It could be the results of switching companies, right? Giving the contract to another company, because you see a huge jump, almost double the jump. So from 2023, which is when they switched the contract, 2026 is a huge jump, almost double, from 3% to like 6% GDP. So here I'm going to study the difference in difference. So if I run this, I don't know if you can try to do my tasking here. Okay, so here I'm running difference in difference. It's a different data. Okay, I'm gonna test or simulate the GDP per capita with a treatment effect. And also, to do this, I have to utilize the dummy variable. I created 6 dummy data set or dummy variable data set for 6 districts. I may have to expand it to like 12. I don't know how many districts are in Uganda, probably like 20. I'm not too sure. But my district is in there, so lucky I know my friends are in there. So my district is called a single district. So if I expand this real quick over here, it shows the district's names. So you have Lamo is singular, this way I'm from. Lakai, Yumbe, Kamuri, Mukono, Lamo. Why do I have double? Oh, this is the years. Okay, so each year I'm testing whether there's solar panels, solar district panel, and after solar district panel, then this is like a dummy variable. So 1, 1, 0, 0. So like each year they have solar panels, and then I'm looking at the GDP of each GDP per capita for each district. And you can see like 2024, the single district GDP has gone up $1,100.55, and Lakai and the singular, they are both neighbors, and the Mukono. These are like very close districts. Also, I'm not trying to be political here, but a lot of these districts are crossed each, they are all coming from the same, they all close to each other, and also majority of Uganda's government officials are from here. So I'm trying not to be biased here. So that's where I'm from. When I'm doing these things, it's because I'm from that area, right? We care about education so much that we do these things. So yeah, so this is to test the, creating two groups, so the controlling group versus treatment groups or uncontrolled group, and then to see which group had solar panels, which group didn't have solar panels, then look at the GDP. And then to make it things simple, I created dummy variables. Did the district X have, did the single district have, let me go back again here. All right. Did the single district, did Lamo district have solar panels in 2019? Yes. What about after 2024? No. So this, by creating, this can be more complicated than I can explain, but by creating two treatment groups and the untreated groups, I can see how did the GDP play out by looking at the solar panels. And I'm going to look into also another DID, or difference in difference, with the grid extensions. Then I'm going to have all of the data combined. Then I'm going to see which one had a match effect. Was it, by looking at the GDP, was having solar panels more beneficial to people than the grid extension? But this could be complicated to study. It's very hard to study this stuff, but I'm gonna do what I can. This is not a PhD paper, this is a master's paper, but it's very interesting, and I'm gonna be doing this again after I graduate. Like I said, I have data over here, I have everything I need, and I know how to figure out these things. This is gonna be very, very interesting. So this is how I stopped. I need to go to sleep. What time is it? It's oh yeah, I need to go to bed and take a nap. But you get the idea, right? This is where I am, and I hope that yeah, then I'm gonna, so this is I'm trying to explain here. So the time dummy, because I forgot to do my notes here. Time dummy one, if year is 2024, post Kansas or post mission 300. So I'm trying to use this because it's required by my professor to make sure that the Uganda is meeting the goal of 300 million people to have electricity by 2030. So that's why I'm having post 2024 and before 2024. Okay, so the control group 2024, before 2024, and the uncontrolled group after 2024. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I am excited to do this on Uganda. Next, I'm gonna make sure this is done. Maybe tonight. Tonight I have a paper to have something to do. Maybe tomorrow I'm gonna make sure that I can get this done and finish an entire study. Then I can do, after I finish this, I'm just gonna do regressions, and everything else is easy. Just run graphs, right? Graphs, and then do regressions. But this is the hardest part. Other than that, thanks for watching. And I ran, the war still going on, but it's gonna take like 2 weeks or 3 weeks to be over. This is not gonna take too long. Thanks for watching. Like always, have a wonderful day, and this is the video of the day. Bye bye, ciao ciao, and adios. Bye bye, adios, spasiba, ciao ciao. Goodbye.